He-Jin stood at his window on the 57th floor, watching the dark clouds gather over New Seoul. His hand pressed against the cool glass as the first drops of rain fell from the sky. This wasn't like the artificial rain they made in the weather control centers. This was real rain, natural rain. And according to all their calculations, it would be the last. The year was 2157, and Earth was dying, not with a bang or a sudden disaster, but slowly, drop by precious drop. The Jin knew the numbers better than most. As a lieutenant in charge of the Global Weather Restoration Project, he had watched the statistics grow worse each year. His apartment was simple but neat. A small desk held 3 computer screens showing weather patterns from around the world. A half-empty cup of coffee sat forgotten beside them. The only decoration was an old photograph of his grandmother's farm, taken when he was just a boy. Back then, the rain had come regularly, and the fields had been green. The sound of rain hitting the window grew stronger. He-Jin pressed a button on his wrist computer, and it began recording the sound. Future generations might never hear real rain. They should at least know what it sounded like. His computer beeped with an incoming call. "Lieutenant He-Jin," a tired voice said. "Are you seeing this?" "Yes, Dr. Song," he replied, recognizing the voice of his team leader. "I'm recording everything." "The patterns are exactly as we predicted," Dr. Song said. "This will be the last natural rainfall. After this, the atmospheric moisture levels will be too low to support the natural water cycle." He-Jin watched a family on the street below. A mother and her 2 children had stopped walking. They stood with their faces turned up to the sky, letting the rain fall on them. They knew what this meant. Everyone did. "What do we do now?" He-Jin asked, though he already knew the answer. "Now." Dr. Song's voice grew stronger. "Now we do what humans have always done. We adapt. We solve the problem. Come to the lab first thing tomorrow. We're not giving up." After the call ended, He-Jin stayed at the window. The rain was falling harder now. He thought about all the times in his life when rain had been just an inconvenience, something that made him carry an umbrella or canceled outdoor plans. How strange that felt now. He walked to his desk and opened his personal log. Every scientist kept one these days. Future generations would want to know what it was like to live through these times. His fingers hovered over the keyboard as he searched for the right words. "Today, I watched the last natural rain fall on Earth," he typed. "The clouds gathered just as our models predicted. The temperature was exactly right. The wind speed perfect. Nature's last dance was beautiful." He paused, then continued typing. "But this isn't the end. Humanity has faced extinction before. Ice ages, plagues, wars. Each time, we survived because we refused to accept defeat. We looked at impossible problems and found solutions. That's what we'll do now." The rain was starting to slow. He-Jin knew that somewhere in the upper atmosphere, the last natural rain clouds were breaking apart. Soon, the only rain on Earth would come from weather control centers, and even they couldn't produce enough to maintain the planet's needs. His wrist computer beeped again. This time, it was an automatic alert. "All Weather Restoration Project personnel report to your stations at 600 hours tomorrow. Priority level. Ultimate." He-Jin smiled slightly. Humans had created this problem over generations of carelessness. Now they had maybe 1 generation to solve it. The rain outside had almost stopped, but he could hear determination in the silence that followed. Tomorrow, they would begin the real work. Tomorrow, they would start finding a way to bring the rain back to Earth. But for now, He-Jin stood at his window, recording every last drop of natural rain humanity might ever see. The last drop fell at exactly 21:47. He-Jin recorded that too. Future generations should know when it ended. More importantly, they should know what happened next, how humanity faced its greatest challenge. He had no way of knowing that soon, his role in that story would become far more important than he could imagine. Dr. Song Jae-yun had been awake for 36 hours straight. The quantum measurement lab at the Global Weather Restoration Project was quiet except for the soft hum of computers and the occasional beep of monitoring equipment. Her eyes were fixed on a screen showing patterns she had never seen before. "Run it again," she told the computer. This would be the 7th time, but she had to be certain. The door opened, and He-jin walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee. "You missed the morning briefing," he said, placing 1 cup beside her. "Look at this," Jae-yun said, pointing to her screen. "These readings from the upper atmosphere, they're impossible." He-jin leaned closer. The screen showed waves of data flowing like water, but with strange gaps and patterns that shouldn't exist. He had worked with atmospheric data for years, but this was different. "What am I looking at?" he asked. Jae-yun took a sip of coffee before answering. "Yesterday, we were testing new quantum sensors in the upper atmosphere. They're designed to measure moisture at the molecular level, but they picked up something else, something that shouldn't be there." She pressed a few keys, and a new image appeared. It looked like a map of the sky, but with holes in it. Not physical holes, but places where the rules of physics seemed to work differently. "The quantum readings suggest that water isn't just disappearing from Earth," Jae-yun explained. "It's being pulled somewhere else. These patterns match quantum tunnel effects we've only seen in laboratory experiments." He-jin sat down slowly. "Are you saying our water is being transported through space?" "Not exactly." Jae-yun pulled up another screen of data. "It's more like there's a connection, a link between Earth's atmosphere and somewhere else. Our planet's water cycle isn't just broken. It's been hijacked." The implications were enormous. If Earth's water was being affected by quantum-level events, it might explain why all their previous attempts to fix the climate had failed. They had been treating the symptoms, not the cause. "Have you told the council?" He-jin asked. Jae-yun shook her head. "Not yet. I wanted to be sure, and..." She hesitated. "I wanted your opinion first. You understand both the science and the politics. What do you think they'll do with this information?" He-jin thought carefully. The Global Council was desperate for solutions, but they were also cautious. A quantum-level atmospheric phenomenon was far beyond anything they had dealt with before. "We need more data," he said finally, "and a proposal. Not just news of a problem, but the beginning of a solution." Jae-yun nodded and turned back to her computer. "I think I have an idea, but you're not going to like it." She brought up a new set of designs on her screen. He-jin recognized them immediately. They were plans for a ship, but unlike any he had seen before. It combined atmospheric research equipment with quantum field generators. "We need to follow the connection," Jae-yun said. "Find out where our water is going. And to do that, we need to build this." He-jin studied the plans. The ship would be enormous, requiring resources that were already stretched thin. But if Jae-yun was right, it might be their only chance to understand what was happening to Earth's water cycle. "How long have you been working on these plans?" he asked. "Since the first strange readings came in," she admitted. "I know it's ambitious, but..." "It's perfect," He-jin interrupted. "This is exactly what the council needs to see. Not just a problem, but a path forward." Jae-yun smiled for the first time in days. "Then you'll help me present it to them?" "Yes," He-jin said, already thinking about how to frame their proposal. "But first, you need to sleep. You look like you haven't rested since the last rain fell." Jae-yun wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. The discovery would still be there after she had rested, and they would need all their strength for what was coming next. As Jae-yun finally left the lab, He-jin stayed behind, studying the quantum patterns on the screen. Somewhere out there was an answer to Earth's problems, and they were going to find it. The Global Council chamber was silent as the last presentation slide faded from the giant screen. He-jin stood beside Jae-yun, waiting. They had just finished explaining their discovery and their ambitious plan to build humanity's first quantum atmospheric vessel. Council leader Kim looked at them over his glasses. You want us to spend half of Earth's remaining resources on a ship that might not work? No, Jai-yun said firmly. We want you to invest those resources in humanity's only chance of survival. The chamber erupted in whispers. No one spoke to the council leader that way. But Jai-yun stood her ground, and He-jin admired her courage. 3 months later, they stood in the massive construction facility outside New Seoul, watching their dream take shape. The ESS Rainmaker was unlike any ship ever built. Its silver hull stretched nearly a kilometer in length, designed to handle both space travel and atmospheric studies. Navigation systems are ready for testing. Lee Do-hyun called from his workstation. The young navigation officer had been chosen from thousands of candidates. His ability to plot courses through both normal space and quantum fields made him invaluable. Start the test sequence, He-jin ordered. He watched as Do-hyun's fingers flew over the controls, running the complex systems through their checks. At another station, systems engineer Kim Mi-rae monitored the quantum field generators. She had helped design them based on Jai-yun's theories. Power flow is stable, she reported. The new containment fields are holding. He-jin remembered when they had first interviewed Mi-rae. She had impressed them not just with her technical skills, but with her practical approach to solving problems. If we can build it, we can fix it, she had said. They would need that attitude where they were going. The construction phase had not been easy. Twice, they had nearly lost funding when other projects demanded resources. But each time, Jai-yun had gone before the council and convinced them to continue. She showed them the worsening atmospheric data, the failing artificial rain systems, the growing signs that Earth was running out of time. Now, 6 months after their first presentation, the Rainmaker was almost ready. He-jin walked through its corridors, checking each system personally. The ship would carry a crew of 50 scientists, engineers, and support staff. All of them knew this might be a one-way journey. Lieutenant He-jin, the voice called. He turned to see Jai-yun hurrying toward him, holding a tablet. The final calculations are complete. I know where we need to go. She showed him the screen. It displayed a region of space far from any known solar system. According to her calculations, that was where Earth's vanishing water cycle was connected. How long to reach it? He asked. 3 months, if Do-hyun's navigation calculations are correct. She paused. Are you sure about this? Leading this mission, He-jin looked out a viewport at the Earth below. From here, he could see the vast brown patches where green had once been, the dried-up ocean beds, the desperate water processing plants trying to keep humanity alive. Someone has to do it, he said simply, and we understand what's at stake. The next week passed in a blur of final preparations. The crew moved aboard, learning their stations and running endless drills. They had to be ready for anything. No human had ever traveled through quantum-affected space before. On launch day, He-jin stood on the Rainmaker's bridge. Do-hyun sat ready at navigation, Mi-rae at engineering, and Jai-yun at the science station. They were the best crew humanity could offer, united in their mission to save Earth. All stations report ready, Mi-rae announced. He-jin took a deep breath. Below them, the last natural rain had fallen months ago. But perhaps if they succeeded, it wouldn't be the last rain Earth would ever see. Launch sequence initiated, he said. Let's bring the rain back home. 3 months into their journey, the ESS Rainmaker moved silently through the quantum-affected space. The ship's large windows showed strange patterns of light where normal space bent and twisted around them. The crew had grown used to the sight, but they never stopped watching it. He-jin sat in his command chair, reviewing the daily reports. The ship's systems were working perfectly, thanks to Mi-rae's careful maintenance. Do-hyun had kept them exactly on course, despite the challenging navigation through quantum space, and Jai-yun's instruments were collecting more data about the water cycle anomaly with each passing day. Lieutenant, Do-hyun called from his station. Something's appearing on long-range sensors. He-jin moved to the navigation console. The screen showed a large object ahead of them, right at the edge of their sensor range. At first, he thought it might be an asteroid or a small moon. But as the sensors gathered more data, his eyes widened. "Call Dr. Song to the bridge," he ordered. "She needs to see this." Jia-Yun arrived quickly, her hair slightly messy from working in her lab. She looked at the sensor readings and gasped. "That's impossible." The object ahead was a ship, but it was unlike anything humans had ever built. It was massive, at least 10 times the size of the Rainmaker. Its shape reminded He-Jin of ancient sailing ships, but with strange structures that seemed to collect and process the quantum energy around it. "It's creating weather patterns," Jia-Yun said, studying her instruments. "Look at these readings. It's pulling in hydrogen from space itself, processing it, combining it with other elements. It's making water." The bridge crew fell silent. They had come looking for the cause of Earth's water cycle problems. Instead, they had found something far more incredible. "Are they aware of us?" He-Jin asked. Mei Ray checked her systems. "They must be. We're well within their sensor range, assuming their technology is at least as advanced as ours. And given the size of that ship." "Sir," Do-hyun interrupted, "they're changing course. They're turning toward us." He-Jin watched the massive ship on the main screen. Its movement was graceful despite its size. Streams of energy flowed around it, creating patterns that looked like clouds in space. "All stations, yellow alert," He-Jin ordered. "Mei Ray, make sure our shields are ready, just in case. Do-hyun, maintain our position, but be ready to move if needed." Jia-Yun moved closer to the screen, her eyes fixed on the alien vessel. "This could be it," she said quietly. "The answer we've been looking for. They've clearly mastered the technology we need. Or they could be the ones causing our problem in the first place." He-Jin pointed out. "We don't know if they're friendly." The alien ship continued its approach, moving with deliberate slowness. He-Jin suspected they were being careful not to appear threatening. The size difference between their vessels made that impossible anyway. "They're stopping," Do-hyun reported, "holding position at 1,000,000 kilometers." "Sir," Mei Ray called from her station, "I'm detecting energy patterns similar to our own communication systems. I think they're trying to talk to us." He-Jin looked at his crew. They had trained for first contact scenarios, but nobody had really expected to need that training. They were supposed to be on a mission to save Earth's water cycle, not meet alien civilizations. But as he watched the magnificent ship on the screen, He-Jin realized that perhaps these two missions were the same. This ship clearly had the technology they needed. The only question was, would they share it? "Mei Ray, start working on establishing communications," he ordered. "Jia-Yun, analyze everything you can about their technology. Do-hyun, keep us at this distance unless they invite us closer." He paused. "Let's hope they're friendly. Because right now, they might be Earth's only hope." The bridge of the ESS Rainmaker was silent except for the soft beeping of computers. Mei Ray's fingers moved quickly over her control panel as she worked to decode the alien signals. After 3 hours of careful work, she finally looked up at He-Jin. "I think I've got it," she said. "Their language structure is different from ours, but their basic communication method is similar. The computer should be able to translate now." He-Jin nodded. "Put it on the main screen." The screen flickered to life, showing an image that made the entire bridge crew lean forward. The alien that appeared looked almost like flowing water given solid form. Its body was transparent in places, with swirls of blue and green moving through it. When it spoke, its voice sounded like gentle rain. "Greetings, water seekers." The translation appeared below the image. "We are the rain dancers. We have been watching your approach with great interest." He-Jin stood straighter. "I am Lieutenant He-Jin of the Earth ship Rainmaker. We come seeking help for our dying world." The rain dancer's colors shifted to deeper blues. "Yes, we know of your world's pain. We have seen the water cycle breaking. It is why we came to this region of space. Jai-yun stepped forward. You know about Earth's problem. Can you help us? The alien's form rippled. We can help because we once faced the same crisis. Our world was like yours, dying of thirst. We learned to dance with the rains of space itself, but the knowledge came at a great cost. At that moment, Chief Engineer Park Sun-woo rushed onto the bridge. He had been studying the alien ship's energy patterns, and his eyes were wide with excitement. Lieutenant, Sun-woo said, their ship, it's not just collecting water. It's creating it from the basic elements of space. The technology is incredible. The rain dancers seemed to smile, though it was hard to tell with their fluid features. Your engineer sees clearly. Would you like to learn our dance? Jin looked at his crew. This was the moment they had traveled so far to find. But something in the alien's warning about great cost made him cautious. We would be honored, he said carefully. But first, please tell us about this cost you mentioned. The alien's colors darkened. To change the weather of a world is to change the world itself. Our solution saved our people, but our planet will never be the same. The rains we make are not like the rains that nature made. Jai-yun stepped closer to the screen. We understand the risks, but without help, our world will die. We're willing to learn, to adapt. The rain dancer's colors brightened again. Then we will teach you. Engineer Park Sun-woo, your understanding of our systems shows promise. You and Dr. Song Jai-yun will work with our science team. We will show you how to dance with the rains. Over the next few hours, Sun-woo and Jai-yun prepared to board the alien vessel. Jin gave them final instructions, emphasizing safety and careful observation. As they stepped into the transport pod, he felt both hope and worry. They were about to learn secrets that could save Earth, but at what price? Mi-rae monitored their life signs as they crossed the space between the ships. Do-hyun kept the rainmaker steady, ready to act if anything went wrong. But the rain dancers had been nothing but helpful, their fluid forms moving with grace and purpose as they welcomed the human visitors. Jin watched the massive alien ship through the viewport. They had found what they were looking for. Now they just had to hope that the cure wouldn't be worse than the disease. Inside the rain dancer vessel, Jai-yun and Sun-woo stood in amazement. The ship's interior looked like a living ocean. Streams of water flowed through transparent walls, carrying information and energy throughout the massive structure. The air hummed with the sound of countless water droplets moving in perfect harmony. Their rain dancer guide, who called itself Azure, led them through corridors that seemed to form and reform as they walked. Our technology, Azure explained, is not separate from nature. We work with the basic forces of the universe, not against them. Sun-woo stopped to examine a control panel that appeared to be made of flowing water. When he touched it, the surface responded to his fingers, displaying complex data patterns. This is remarkable, he said. The whole ship is one giant water processing system. Yes, Azure replied, its body shimmering with pleased colors. But it is more than that. We do not simply process water. We speak to it, dance with it, understand its deepest nature. That is what we must teach you. In the ship's main science chamber, Jai-yun worked with the rain dancer scientists. They showed her how their quantum field generators could pull hydrogen and oxygen from space itself, combining them in ways that defied Earth's current understanding of physics. But there's something you're not telling us, Jai-yun said, looking up from a particularly complex data stream. What's the real cost of this technology? What happened to your world? Azure's colors darkened to a deep blue. Come, we will show you. The rain dancer led them to a special viewing chamber. The walls became transparent, revealing the distant star system. In its light, they could see a planet that glowed with an unusual blue-green light. That is our home, Azure said softly. Once it was much like Earth, but when we implemented our water creation technology, it changed everything. The artificial rain carried different properties than natural rain. Over time, It altered our planet's chemistry. Our plants evolved. Our oceans changed color. Even our own bodies adapted, becoming what you see now. Jia-yun and Sunwoo exchanged worried looks. How long did these changes take? Sunwoo asked. 3 generations. Azure replied. Our people chose to change with our world, to become one with the new water cycle we had created. It was adapt or die. We chose to adapt. Back on the Rainmaker, Jin listened to their report with growing concern. The technology they needed would save Earth's water cycle, but it would also fundamentally change their world and possibly humanity itself. We have to make a choice, Jia-yun said, finishing her report. The rain dancers are willing to share everything they know. But once we start using their technology, there's no going back. Earth will never be the same. Myray, who had been quietly analyzing the technical data, spoke up. Maybe we can modify it. Find a way to use their basic principles without causing such dramatic changes. The rain dancers are willing to help us try. Sunwoo added. They understand our concerns. They want to help us find a better way than they found. Jin stood at the viewport, watching the magnificent alien ship. They had come so far to find a solution. Now they had one, but it came with consequences they hadn't imagined. Start working with them, he decided. But we find a way to do this that keeps Earth as Earth. We'll learn their dance, but we'll dance it our own way. The crew nodded in agreement. They had a new mission now, not just to save Earth's water cycle, but to find a way to do it without losing what made their world unique. 2 weeks had passed since the crew of the Rainmaker began learning from the rain dancers. The ship's data banks were now full of new knowledge about water creation and weather control. But as they prepared to return to Earth, they discovered a serious problem. Myray noticed it first during a routine system check. She was testing how the rain dancers' technology would work with Earth's atmosphere when her computer started showing strange readings. Lieutenant Jin, she called out, her voice tense. You need to see this immediately. Jin walked to her station and looked at the screen. The numbers didn't make sense at first, but then he understood. The alien technology was creating quantum echoes, invisible waves that could shake Earth's fragile atmosphere apart. Call Sunwoo and Jia-yun back from the rain dancer ship, he ordered. We need to solve this before we return home. When the science team gathered in the Rainmaker's main laboratory, the mood was serious. Sunwoo drew diagrams on a large screen, showing how the quantum echoes would affect Earth's atmosphere. It's like throwing a stone into a pond, he explained. The ripples are beautiful, but too many at once could cause waves that destroy everything on the shore. Jia-yun nodded in agreement. The rain dancers' world was different from ours. Their atmosphere was stronger. It could handle the quantum echoes. But Earth's atmosphere is already weak from centuries of damage. How long do we have to fix this? Jin asked. Myray checked her calculations. Earth has maybe 6 months of water reserves left. We need 3 months to get home. That leaves us 3 months to solve this problem. Do-hyun, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. What if we changed our course? Take a longer route home through areas of space with different quantum properties. It might give us more time to work. The idea was risky. A longer journey would use more resources, and there was no guarantee they would find a solution. But they had no choice. They couldn't return to Earth with technology that might destroy what little atmosphere they had left. The rain dancers offered to help. Azure and its science team worked day and night with the humans, trying to modify their technology. They tested hundreds of different combinations, looking for a way to create rain without causing dangerous quantum echoes. Days turned into weeks. The crew worked in shifts, sleeping only when they had to. Every failed test brought Earth closer to disaster, but they refused to give up. Then, during test number 847, something changed. Sunwoo had been adjusting the quantum field harmonics when Myray noticed a new pattern in the data. Look at this, she said, pointing to her screen. If we sync the quantum fields to Earth's natural magnetic field, The echoes cancel each other out. Jai-yun rushed to verify the readings. She's right. The magnetic field acts like a shield, protecting the atmosphere while still allowing the water creation process to work. He-jin studied the new data carefully. This could be the solution they had been searching for, but they would only get one chance to implement it correctly. Begin full-scale testing, he ordered. I want to be absolutely certain this will work before we head home. As the crew prepared for the new tests, He-jin looked out at the rain dancer ship. They had found their answer. But now came the hardest part, making it work in time to save their world. The ESS Rainmaker entered Earth's orbit exactly 3 months after discovering the solution to the quantum echo problem. The crew looked down at their home planet, which appeared even drier than when they had left. Large brown patches covered most of the continents, and the remaining water processing plants struggled to keep humanity alive. In the ship's main control room, He-jin gathered his crew for their final briefing. Everything we've done, everything we've learned, comes down to this moment, he said, looking at each crew member in turn. Are we ready? Jai-yun nodded from her science station. The quantum field generators are calibrated to match Earth's magnetic field. The rain dancer's technology has been fully modified for our atmosphere. All systems are operating at peak efficiency, Mai-ray reported from engineering. Sun Wu's modifications are holding steady. Do-hyun looked up from navigation. We're in perfect position above New Seoul. The atmospheric conditions match our test scenarios exactly. He-jin took a deep breath. They had said goodbye to the rain dancers 2 days ago, but Azure's final words still echoed in his mind. Remember, you are not just making rain. You are teaching your world to dance again. Begin the sequence. He-jin ordered. The Rainmaker's engines hummed as the quantum field generators powered up. Through the ship's windows, they could see energy patterns forming in the atmosphere below. The patterns looked like flowing rivers in the sky, carrying hydrogen and oxygen atoms drawn from space itself. Quantum fields are stable, Jai-yun announced. The magnetic field is responding exactly as predicted. No signs of dangerous echoes. Mai-ray watched her instruments carefully. Water molecule formation beginning. The first drops are taking shape. In New Seoul below, people stepped out of their homes and workplaces, looking up at the strange patterns forming in the sky. News cameras broadcast the event worldwide. Humanity held its breath, waiting to see if their world could be saved. The first drop fell slowly, as if testing the air. He-jin watched it through the ship's magnification system. This wasn't just water. It was hope made liquid, science made real. The future falling from the sky. More drops followed. First a few, then hundreds, then thousands. They fell in a perfect circle above New Seoul, each drop protected by the quantum fields that had created it. When they hit the ground, sensors confirmed what the crew already knew. This was real rain, safe and life-giving. It's working, Jai-yun whispered, tears in her eyes. The water is bonding naturally with Earth's environment. No rejection, no harmful effects. He-jin opened a channel to Global Command. This is Lieutenant He-jin of the ESS Rainmaker. The first test is successful. Request permission to begin worldwide implementation. The response came immediately. Permission granted. Bring the rain back to Earth. Rainmaker, bring it back to all of us. Over the next few hours, the crew carefully expanded the rain-making field. They watched as clouds formed naturally for the first time in months, carrying their quantum-enhanced rain across the continent. Slowly but surely, the brown patches began to darken with life-giving moisture. As night fell over New Seoul, He-jin stood at his familiar apartment window. But this time, he watched rain fall with hope instead of despair. In his hand, he held his old recording of the last natural rain. Soon, he would make a new recording. The first rain of Earth's new age. The rain that fell wasn't exactly like the rain of old. It carried within it a touch of the quantum dance they had learned from the rain dancers. But it was Earth's rain now, changed but still theirs, different but still home. And somewhere in the vast reaches of space, the rain dancers watched and danced their own dance of celebration. For they knew that humanity had not just saved their world, they had learned to dance with it in a whole new way.